So for today, we're going to talk about who you should pull. Childe or Hutao, we all know they're coming up on the 2.2 banner. Childe, as you can see, is already on the banner, and Hutao is going to be on the second half of the banner. So before I go into the more specific who you should actually pull, there's actually like three sort of like prerequisites that you can refer by for pulling. So first of all, the most important one, if you like the character, go for it. So if you're missing like a husband, child, or if you're missing your waifu, Hutao, and you really like them, go for it. On the other hand, so if you have one of the character already, for example, I have Childe already, I will actually pull for Hutao, so I actually suggest you to pull for the character that you don't have. This is because both of them together in the same team, it makes a great new comp, and we'll get into that later on in the video. And the third factor that you should refer by is weapon. So if you have any of like the 5-star like BIS best in slot weapons for the character, then go for that character instead. So for example, Childe, if you have any of the Polish Star, Thundering Pulse, or Skyward Heart, then go for Childe. And on the other hand, for Hutao, if you have Staff of Homa, Skyward Spine, or J Spear, then you should pull for Hutao. Let's say you don't have any of the 5-star weapons, you don't have any 5-star weapons. So for Childe, if you have Rust or Hamayumi, go for Childe, and for Hutao, if you have Black Cliff or Deathmatch, go for Hutao. So let's say you just got into the game and you don't have any of the weapons, you don't have any of the character like Childe or Hutao, you don't have any of them. You never done their story quests, you don't know who they are, you don't know how strong they are. Now you just want like a DPS because both of them are DPS characters who you should pull for. So first we're going to talk about like the mechanics of Childe and Hutao because both of them have, you can say they have the same mechanics. They're heavily reliant on their elemental skill, but both of their elemental skill have a cooldown. So for Hutao, there's a 9-second duration on her E, and then with a 16-second cooldown. And for Childe, there's a maximum of 30-second duration on his E where he transformed to melee, but the maximum cooldown is 45. And for their ultimate cooldowns, both of them are sitting at 15. So the next point we're going to look at is their percentage for their ultimate. So technically like how much damage they do. So for Hutao, if her health is below 50%, she does 612% of her like attack damage. And then if her health is below 50%, she does 765. For Childe, if he is in melee stance, then his ultimate does 1102% of the attack. And then if he's in ranged form, he does 898. So this is just some sort of like estimate for number that you can refer off to. You guys can see that Childe here have a sort of slight higher damage in ultimate. Even though Hutao's percentage might look a bit lower, but if you like build her correctly, you can still get a huge amount of damage off. I think she's actually one of the highest burst DPS in the game at the moment. So next we'll be talking about weapon pool. For Tartaglia, you guys can see the weapon pool right now. It's Polar Star. So it is I'll say like the second best in slot weapon. So if you guys have enough Primo Gems, I'll actually suggest you guys pull on the weapon banner if you are pulling for Childe. And for Hutao, right now we're not sure what the weapon banner is. If it is like Staff of Homa, which I kind of doubt because Staff of Homa, it is like, you could say it's like a T0 or like a S tier like weapon. I don't know if they're going to have a rerun. So, and then without knowing the weapon pool, it is like if you really want Hutao without like Staff of Homa, it is kind of like a minus on that end. And lastly, we'll talk a little bit about constellation. So both Childe and Hutao, if you are fucking a whale, then I don't think you have to worry about like whether to pull for Hutao or pull for Childe. You can just get both of them C6. But for like free to play or like small spenders, constellations, Hutao definitely have better constellation. And then right here, I'm only talking about like C1. At the moment, I'm comparing the C1 between Childe and Hutao. So the constellation, the first constellation for Hutao is she doesn't consume stamina while charging. And for Childe, it's 20% reduction on his cooldown. So if you really look at like how much it affects the gameplay, honestly, both constellations doesn't affect the gameplay at all. On Childe's end, 20%, not really big of a difference, I would say. Like every 10 seconds is only like 2 seconds, and usually Childe, you have like 15 seconds around, usually like around 15 seconds cooldown. So you probably have like a 3 second less. It's not gonna make much of a difference. And for Hutao, on the other hand, if you charge auto during her E duration, you have enough stamina, and that is considering you don't have any extra like movement or anything like that. But Hutao's stamina is definitely enough to last her through her elemental skill. So after talking about that, you guys sort of like get like an image of these two characters. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about Abyss team. I will actually suggest you to put Hutao and Childe on the same team because they actually complement each other like super well, especially with their elements, how they can just trigger vaporize. You have Hutao, you have Childe. The other two I'll suggest you to bring. One of them will be Zhongli, just to have a shield. That's super nice. And the fourth character is I'll suggest you to bring healer. A healer, unless you are super confident that you won't get hurt, or you're super confident that your Zhongli shield is thick as fuck, then you actually don't need to bring a healer. You could bring some like a support or like a utility character, like I would say Shincho will be super good in that team. I wouldn't suggest Bao in the team. Even Albedo will be super nice in a team with double Geo running. So that would be a team comp to look at if you're pulling for one of them or even both of them, to have both of them in a team like that. So I'll give you some personal opinion for whether to pull for Childe or pull for Hutao. My vote will be Childe if you can only pull for one of them. So it will actually be Childe. So there's a couple of reasons. First, he's the only Hydro DPS at the moment, so it provides great diversity to your like overall team, I'll say. Because for Pyro, there's a lot of other DPS like Diluc. Even Kali will be like, Kali is like a sub DPS, but you could even like build her DPS. And Yuomiya, she's also like sort of like sub DPS, but she still does like shit tons of damage. And there's just a lot like 4-star even DPS like Pyro, like Yanfei, she's like DPS as well. So there's actually like a lot of like DPS in Pyro. But on the other hand, if you see Hydro doesn't have any DPS. Most of the Hydro characters are healers, like Barbara, Kokomi, and then like Shincho, they're like healer slash support. So Childe is actually like the only Hydro DPS in the game at the moment. If you are encountering like Abyss that is like Pyro, or even just like regular gameplay, you're encountering like monsters that are like Pyro based, Childe is great for that. Second, I think Childe is actually friendlier to use because Hutao, you actually have to maintain her HP below 50% for her to deal like substantially large amount. And then if you have like some like OCD like me, to like keep your character's health at full, then Hutao's definitely not a character for you. Third, Artifact farming. So artifact, everyone know like how hard it is to farm fucking artifact, to get like a good piece of fucking artifact. It's so fucking hard. You have to farm the domain like over like fucking 1,000 times to get like 5 good pieces of artifact. I'll say that Childe is better in this sense because when you're farming the domain, I'll show you guys right here. So you'll be farming this domain at the peak of Vindanir, and then you'll see the other set. So for Childe, you'll be farming the Heart of Depth, but if you look at the other set, it's Blizzard Strayer. So almost everyone needs a set of Blizzard Strayer for any cryo like character. There's so many characters that uses Blizzard Strayer. Like recently released like Ayaka, like Ganyu, and then like even like Chongyun could use like Blizzard Strayer. Oh, also fucking maybe even like what's her name? The church girl with fucking huge ass titties. Let's see. Damn, it's just going on. Oh, Rosaria. Even Rosaria could use Blizzard Strayer. But if you look at the other domain that you'll definitely farm for Hutao, the hidden pile of Joe formula, like the other set, you'll be farming the Crimson Witch for like, of course, like the 4 set or your 5 set Crimson Witch for Hutao. The other set is Lava Walker. Who the fuck uses Lava Walker? No one uses Lava Walker. Pyro resistant by 40%, increased damage against opponent affected by Pyro by 35. No one uses this shit. So, like, farming for Childe definitely has a greater value because Blizzard Strayer is so much better than Lava Walker. Alright, I think everyone know like how rare like resins are, so we'll skip over this point. If you have like other characters that you're playing with, like for example you have like Zhongli or you have like even like Ganyu and stuff like that, one of the resources that these characters fight over is not only resin for artifact, it's also weapons. So Hutao's best in slot weapon is Staff of Homa, as everyone know, but this weapon is also the best in slot for Zhongli. So if you have Zhongli and you only have 1 Staff of Homa, I wouldn't suggest you pull for Hutao because one of them is not gonna get Staff of Homa and it's gonna end up with like a shitty weapon. And it's not gonna do that much damage that you see in other fucking YouTube videos. If you look at Childe on the other hand, right? Childe have like 3 weapons that he can basically use, and then the damage output on this is not that much. Like difference between the 3 weapons, like Polar Star, Thundering Pulse, Skyward Heart. Like, and he doesn't like fight really like have to fight over like weapon with like other characters. Like besides like maybe like you and Mia, he had to fight over a weapon with. So like if you have you and Mia, and you don't have like 1 like weapon, let's say you only have like Thundering Pulse or like Skyward Heart, then you might have to fight a little bit. But other than that, like if you look at other like both like DPS like Ganyu uses ammos, and Childe, that's like the worst weapon on Childe. So Childe doesn't have to like fight over like too many weapons with like other characters. Also, if you look at like Abyss teams, you wouldn't put like Childe and like another bow user on like the same team, so they honestly don't have to fight over a weapon in that sense. But if you have Hutao, you probably have Zhongli on the team just to like, if you want to maintain your like Hutao's health below 50% and keep Hutao alive, you probably need fucking Zhongli. And both of them are gonna like fight over Staff of Homa, and you're gonna be like, shit, I only have 1. And then you're gonna hope the next weapon banner is gonna be Staff of Homa, and then MiHoYo is gonna be like, no, fuck you, you're not gonna get Staff of Homa. I'm gonna put Staff of Homa in like a banner like that's like 2 months later. So honestly, if you have Primo gems right now, I will say go for fucking Childe. That's my personal opinion, but we did sort of like a little bit of analysis. If you want like a deeper analysis, you can watch other YouTube videos. I'm sure there's a bunch of other YouTubers did like deep analysis on both like Hutao and Childe. Hutao definitely does like shit tons of damage, and especially like she's Pyro, she can pair with Bennett to get that 25% just like attack bonus. But Childe on the other hand, he's sort of like a little bit better in terms of like resources and then all the other point I listed out before. And you guys can check that out. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and then you guys can think a bit about like who you really want aesthetic wise. But other than that, if you don't really have a preference, then you can refer to this video and hopefully you make a good decision that you won't regret.